Sun descends, and the birds fly home to rest, in the hush when day is ending, as the hour when I feel blessed, smoking my pipe, smoking my pipe, like a whisper through the cornfield comes a gentle evening breeze, at the doorway of my cottage I recall old memories. Smoking my pipe, smoking my pipe. Those far-off places beyond the blue, familiar faces that once I knew. I recall those days behind me and the happiness they bring. Every sundown you will find me with a heart that is content. Smoking my pipe, smoking my pipe. You remember the first time we met? You were the only one in that railway carriage who didn't like me smoking my dear old pipe. Compromise, I opened the window. And what a lovely surprise you gave me on our wedding day at the back hotel. How I remember each smile and tear as life's December is drawing. So then my moving finger closes one more day but yet, while such thoughts as mine can linger, I'll have nothing to regret. Smoking my pipe, smoking my pipe, smoking my pipe.
Hi YouTube fans, this is Matt of Post April 6th YouTube channel. Now this pipe isn't just any old pipe. These are hard to get. It is a television pipe. And I believe you can see it. You can see the nomenclature. I just received this pipe back from a shipment from a pipe repairman who, I better not say his name because he may get quite upset if I do. All I can say is he does quite a lot of work in the state of Ohio. And he is a very good repairman and a pipe maker. And this stem, you can tell, it's brand spanking new. It is vulcanite, hard rubber. And, well, I don't want to just talk about this really good smoking collectible. I want to talk about yet another story idea I have. It was something I created on July 4th, 2021, when I was still in the state of West Virginia before I moved back here. And it is about a young man. Well, the story starts out when he was a young man who was born on July 7th, 1968. His name is Jones Michael Nacar. And that is spelled N-A-C-A-R. I have done research about this last name. I believe it may be from India or Indonesian or possibly Middle Eastern. But this guy is a white Caucasian. How he got that name, Nacar, I don't know. I have a hunch, based on if this was at least partially or more than 50% based on somebody who was actually real. It may be because his parents changed their name, or somebody in his family, his grandparents or his great-grandparents changed their name because they didn't want to have a very, very hard to pronounce name from Russia or Africa or from Asia. And he does not live in California or New York. Or excuse me, he does not live in New York, the state of New York, New York City, California, or anywhere in the state of Colorado or in the Denver metro area. He lives in Oolitic, Indiana. Yes. It is spelled O-O-L-I-T-I-C. Oolitic. It's a very unique, one-of-a-kind small town in Indiana. And he is a good kid, but one day he gets into very, very, very serious trouble. He does more than just spill some shoe polish in the carpet. He does more than backtalk to his parents. He does more than get into a nasty fight with a kid. He does more than heavily bully a kid and do some, be cruel to somebody that he, in a way that he shouldn't. He commits a felony. I'm not joking. What he did was he goes to a very busy, fairly big-sized toy store, and somehow he pressed the no sale button, or he knew a little trick on the on the cash register, and he pressed the button and he steals $300 out of $300 out of the register and then quickly takes off. He was only an 11-year-old kid when he did that. Now, why don't I just go ahead and start reading the story? Because it's not, what happens to the kid isn't anywhere near what you think. Just by chance, by the way his father acts out, he totally gets off the hook. Yes. And he does not see his father again. What happens? I'm not going to say anything more until I read the story, because otherwise I'm going to spoil the enjoyment and the depth of the story itself. Okay, I'll start reading now. On July 7th, 1968, Jones Michael Nacar was born at a private hospital in Indianapolis, Indiana, to a nice mother and father named Joseph Roger Nacar, born in 1945, and his really nice mother, Melissa Mildred Adkins Nacar, born in 1944. Jones was a good little boy most of the time, but one day he was a really bad little boy. He stole $300 from a cash register from a great toy store located in Oolitic, Indiana, when he was only 11 years old. In August of 1979, the police knew he did it. After two policemen paid a visit, no, let me say that again. After two policemen paid him a visit at his house 2 days after the theft, and he then surrendered the money in the presence of his mother and father, who were parental observers. Then the police informed him he was not going to face having to go to jail, but the owners of the store were going to decide if he was going to have to face any charges. After that, Jones broke down and cried, and after the police left the home, his father angrily said to him, and he was screaming violently, "Shut up! And sit down on the couch! I'm going to be looking into your gangster haven and decide what we're going to do." I mean, he looked about like that. Then his dad marched into his room and slammed the door really hard and kicked the wall and proceeded to ransack the whole room and dirty it up. And then his father ran out of the house and speeded out of the house and drove away in his car, driving at a speed that exceeded 80 miles an hour. Yeah. The dad went off the deep end that bad. Meanwhile, Jones falls asleep and his mother leaves the home, and about 5 hours later, a policeman, a sergeant patrolman, and his mother gently wakes him up. Because see, he fell asleep on the couch, and he was sleeping on the couch for at least 2 hours because he lost so much energy from crying so hard and feeling so bad. He fell asleep. And a really nice patrol officer asked Jones for a favor. Sergeant R.J. Rockford says, now, the voice of this man, he doesn't sound like he's from Indiana. He probably lived in a rural part of the southern part of the United States, because Indiana is adjacent to, I think it's Kentucky, or one of the southern states. Part of the South where they speak in a deep southern accent, deep southern drawl. Okay, so Sergeant Rockford says, Jones, I know you've been a really bad boy. Oh goodness, let me say that again. I am sorry. Jones, I know you really feel bad about the crime you committed. And there will probably not only be no criminal charges or disciplinary action of any kind. You will not have to worry about your dad contacting you. You see, after the severe abuse your father did to you, he will be forced to have an injunction of harassment filed against him in court, which means he has had a restraining order in effect against him, which means that until July 7th of 1986 after 12:01 a.m. Central Time, he cannot see you, write you a letter. Let me say that again. Write a letter to you or contact you in any way, shape, or form. If it does, we will have to place him under arrest and be escorted to Indiana State Prison for 3 to 8 year sentence. Then Sergeant sits down and in a comforting manner next to him. Your father is imprisoned in Lawrence County Jail, and he has been charged with attempted vehicular homicide against a woman driving a 1977 Lincoln Town Car. And his car and her fine automobile are badly damaged. Plus, your mother will be filing an emergency divorce against your father tomorrow. Plus, your mother will be taken care of financially through child support and alimony monthly payments. And your family will also be getting USDA food stamp coupons. And as we speak, someone is cleaning up your room. A fit of rage your father enacted onto your nice little boy's bedroom. After that, after the sergeant made that statement, Joan hears certain sounds coming from the opposite end of the house that sound like someone cleaning up a room. And then Jones asks the sergeant, "Officer, can I see what cleaning up is going on in my room?" "Well, I will go over and check if I can let you in." Then Rockford walks down the hallway and opens up the bedroom door and asks the crime scene specialists and a woman wearing police academy exercise fatigues if it would be okay to let him see the room. And both of them respond that it is okay. After Rockford returns to the couch and says with a smile, "Okay, Jones, let me go see No, let me say that again, excuse me. Okay, Jones, let's go see what your room looks like now. And then Jones follows Rockford over to the bedroom entrance. And after the door opens, he sees a room has been sanitized, and the bed is well made with a new comforter and sheets too. The comforter set is designs of Ford, Chevy, Pontiac, and Mopar super sport cars, made from 1961 to 1972. A poster of Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, and a 8x10 photo of the Duke, John Wayne, in a Rooster Cogburn movie. Despite some decorating, he noticed there was some more cleaning needed to be done, and the hole in the wall needed to be spackled and patched up, and the floor needed to be vacuumed, and a few other little details. Then he turns around and says to the sergeant, "Wow! I am so happening." Sergeant Rockford responds, "Good. I'm glad you like it so much. Now let's go over a couple of other things." And Jones follows the Sarge to the living room, and they sit down on the couch. And the Sarge pauses because he needs to blow his nose onto his handkerchief. After he returns the white nose wiper back into the pants pocket, he says, now, what we're going to do is, after your mom finishes smoking a cigarette in the backyard, we're going to leave the house and go to the police station. And you are going to give a tape-recorded statement on how abusive your father was. I know it hurts to talk about this, but your dad left the house, stopped at a liquor store, and quickly drank a copious amount of 1/5 of wild turkey liquor, and then was driving around in a speedy way that was over 90 miles an hour. And when the town car pulled out of the parking lot, even though I didn't write anything, what happened is when he pulled out of the parking lot, I mean, he would drive over to it, and then the person tried, and then he'd race up against it. He kept hitting it and bashing up against the side of it, like a demolition derby on the racetrack. Yeah, he really scared that woman really bad. I think, I shouldn't say this, but if this were a real situation, that woman would probably get so scared she'd really start shaking and crying, and she'd probably pee her pants. Yes. It's probably what would have happened. Excuse me, I had to relight my pipe. So then what happens is they leave the house, and then he gives his deposition, and after the deposition he gets really hungry, and Sergeant Rockford leaves the house And I don't know this for sure, but I think it would be a fast food joint that would be called something like Made Right or Made Something. Or it would be a White Castle Burgers or Rally. It would be, instead of R-R-R-A-L-L-Y, it would be spelled R-A-L-L-E-Y. And he brings them a cheeseburger, fries, a milkshake, and a little candy bar of some sort, either a Snickers, a Butterfinger, something. Then the mom feels really, really hungry. So what a high-ranking policewoman does, she would probably be a lieutenant. She gives the mom a nice, I don't know about Cobb salad, but it would be either nice, what's called a garden salad or a Caesar salad that was already, on the premises of the police station, and lets her eat it. And then what happens after that is when Jones and the mom named Melissa go home, they order a pizza. Now that area of Indiana, I'm unfamiliar with, how things are in the present day, and if it would be like that back in 1979. What restaurants were there, but it would probably be a good Italian store, and this would be about 8 o'clock at night, roughly. And they ordered a good pizza, and she lets him stay up until about 11:30, and then she says, "Well, it's time for you to go to bed, sweetie." He goes into his bedroom, and it is immaculately clean. I mean, immaculately clean. And the sheets have been washed and dried somewhere else before they came in there with fabric softener, and boy, those sheets are just soft as soft can get. And they sleep there. And from let's see, from 1979 until 1986, I think the monthly income that the mom would get with a part-time job she gets for earning about $500-600 a month, and what she's getting in child support and alimony, about $1,400-1,500. Because see, back then that was, I mean, if your house payment was no more than about $275 a month, that was big bucks. But if you lived in an apartment or in a house, where the mortgage payment of the house, monthly mortgage payment of the house, or the monthly rent payment of the house was over $800, pardon me for saying this, you were up shit creek without a paddle. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't like to use that kind of language in a YouTube vlog, but you were up shit creek without a paddle. You really were. You were really stuck between a rock and a hard place. And then in 1986, he does see his father once. before he was released from prison. Or no, excuse me, right after he was released from prison. A year after he was released from prison. And then a year after the dad was released from prison, some way, somehow, he got a really good paying job. Not in Indiana, not in Chicago, not in New York City, not in Minneapolis, Minnesota, not in the big the affluent areas of LA Metro or Northern California near San Diego, Northern California near San Jose or San Francisco, but it's in Hawaii. Yep, Honolulu. And what he was doing was he was working in a company that most people wouldn't talk about. It was one of the islands it was one part of the island where it was not a refinery where they have those oil pumps, where they pumped oil. They drilled, oil driller, and then they pumped up the oil, like in episodes of Dallas. It was a refinery that had to be there. And he was making big bucks there. And let's see, somewhere between 1992 and 1993. Okay, he was born in 45, so he turned 40 in 1985. When the dad was about 47 years old, he had 3 days off, and he bought a 1985 or 86 Camaro that was in really good condition, and it was a bit souped up. And he's driving along, and some guy who's really tuned up on a lot of coke, I mean, we're talking a couple of grams, he's driving over 120 miles an hour, and the dad tries to avoid him, and the first time he was able to avoid him, and then he keeps driving, and then the second time when he's coming, the dad's going this way, and then the driver turns around and he's going this way, and he avoided him a second time, and then finally what he does is he thinks, okay, this is getting too risky. So he drives just a little bit faster than he's supposed to get to a gas station. And he parks way in the back. And he waits. He gets permission to wait out there for a couple of hours. And then what he does is he drives to a hotel that would cost about $65, $75 a night. And and when he gets within about 5 city blocks of the hotel he decided on, because see, this is before the internet. He found out about this through the Yellow Pages, and he was advised by the clerk working at the gas station. It's a gas station that's also a convenience store. where it was. All of a sudden, the guy is driving and he's swerving like this. We're talking about the one who's the speeder. And Joseph Roger Nacar gets hit so bad, his car rolls like this. He gets killed. He dies. He died young. Joseph Nacar was only 47 years old. That's pretty tragic. So, back to about Jones. Jones continues to work at a, he continues to do maintenance work for an elementary school, or no, excuse me, a middle school. And then in about in 2008, a lot of things had changed in Oolitic. They had a small grocery store that was still there, but there was a lot of demand for towns nearby to get a large grocery store. So what he does is he talks to a National Retail Grocery Store Supermarket Association, and he starts really getting educated on how to set up a grocery store. The one store that is just a little bit outside of Oolitic has been closed for 2 years. It's a big one. It's a store that would have at least 24 aisles of groceries. So Jones really starts to do a lot of research on what to do about buying it or setting up a new store in there. He does research for over a year. And in 2009, he gets approved for a commercial loan to set up a grocery store and do some of the reconstruction work in there that needs to be done to get the house up, to get the place up to code. Excuse me. There. And the first day that he opens up the store would be 2 days before Valentine's Day of 2010. Yeah. And believe me, he is extremely busy. That store in one business day, the day that they opened up they have hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. He opens up at 6:45 for the people whose hours are whose wristwatches And smartphones are set up a little bit, 10 minutes in advance or whatnot. And the number of people that are lined up outside that store are 25. Yes. And the number of cars that are in the parking lot, including the people that work for them, are probably at least 29. Yeah. And they come walking in droves, and they're going crazy, and they're cheering, and they're making all, they're talking loud and happy and making all kinds of noise. And that store, from the time it opened at 6:45 a.m. until after 10 o'clock, or no, excuse me, after 9:30, they made at least $65,000. $65,000 made in one day at a grocery store in a small town like that. That's really big time. And they get the store restocked, and on the next day they make even more money, $69,000. And then on the third day that they're opened, they make 68.1 or 68,000, $68,500 and change. And on the fourth day, they make, and I'm not kidding, $82,000. And then what happens is they start really overstocking, and that store keeps getting busier and busier and busier and busier. And instead of 5 cashiers, they rearrange, they work things out so that they have 9 registers instead of just 5. Yeah. And they get set up with the state of Indiana to do payroll check cashing. And there's one area that is kind of blocked off. They have to go through a lot of red tape, and the owner has to take a course at night to be able to do this, and he lets the assistant manager run the store from 4 p.m. until they close. So they can have a pharmacy there. And somebody who has been retired, a pharmacist, who has been retired for a couple of years, desperately wants to go to work for him. And he gets hired like that. And they start making some pretty big bucks. And after the store has been open about 2 or 3 months, they work out a deal with Lawrence County law enforcement to have an off-duty policeman go in there and keep an eye on the place. And the shrinkage, the shoplifting, it doesn't stop, but it cuts down pretty low. And the patrolman, there's like 2 different patrolmen that work 2 different days, different shifts, whatever. They only have to break up a couple of fist fights, and they break them up quick too, and they arrest both of the people, regardless of who started it. They have to do it that way. To lay down the law. Hey, you don't act like this in public. If you're mad at each other, you don't get violent at each other just because you're so angry. And in 2000, in 2018, after Jones has been running that store for 8 years, a company offers him a deal he can't refuse. They offer him over $12 million plus 5% of the profits for 10 years after that, or 4% of the profits actually, for 10 years after that, to take ownership of the store and change the name. So what happens is, after a couple of months, Nacar's loaded financially. I mean loaded. He's got at least $4 to $5 million to his name. He doesn't want to be in Oolitic or in Indiana anymore. He's tired of it. Because I don't know this for sure, but I think that might be an area where there are times in the winter it gets very cold. You know, humid-like cold. Not good. You know, that really cold, cutting, thick air type feeling. I don't know about muggy, but you know, thick air that's really cutting, penetrating. So he goes to Seattle, and after being there for a week, he don't like it. He's like, seeing the Space Needle and seeing this and that was nice, but the atmosphere there just don't sit right. And he goes to Portland, and he really don't like Portland because there's parts of it that look dirty because there's so many homeless people out there and so many druggies, and people, you know, because of the drugs on, they start freaking out and acting really crazy. And he goes to Hollywood, California, and how we worked it out was he was like, okay, I'm just gonna book, you know, he planned this ahead of time. I'm just gonna book 3 days here, 3 days there, 3 days there, 3 days there, different parts of Hollywood. And then what he does is he really likes it. He goes home. He takes care of some things he needs to. He doesn't have any pets. So then what he does is he starts researching through apartments.com, for rent, rent.com. I think Zillow offers some information about both apartments, condos, and houses for rent. And I think possibly, I could be wrong on this, I think Redfin offers services. And some other, and even looks up some things on Craigslist. But he makes sure to really be quite cautious, and don't fall deeply in love with something because of the photographs they show in the description of the place. You know, don't let it get, don't get it into your skin, don't let it get into your blood, and think, oh, I gotta live there. Oh, I just gotta live there. Yeah. That's the place for me. That's the ultimate dream. You know, he's so well disciplined. He doesn't let that happen. And he goes. He no, actually, it would be through Airbnb. He works out a deal where he rents. It's one of those. I think what it would be called sort of like a short lease or temporary residency, whatever. He goes, he finds this place. Sorry, I had to pet my kitty. Hi, kitty. Okay. I had to pause to pet my cat. Because after the part where I did the acting with me yelling the way I did, she got scared. She ran under my bed, but I reassured her that I wasn't mad at her and I was just doing some acting. Okay, now back to the story. So it would be someplace. I think it would be in an area called Television City. Now, Television City isn't its own city within Los Angeles County, Los Angeles Metro. Television City is, I think it would be part of what's called the Hollywood region, and it would be a neighborhood within a region or a district, you know, a neighborhood within Hollywood, something like that. And it would be where Johnny Carson's show used to be. And he stays at a place that would be about 3 to 4 blocks away. And man, he's just loving it. He's really loving it. By this time, he's in his early 50s. And he goes on a couple of dates because some women just really thinks he's in some ways better than the best actors, or the best, you know, debonair, lovable, ultramagnetic personality type actors or millionaires. You know, he's so special and so likable, and women are so attracted to him. And what he does is he really starts thinking really hard about some apartments. And he thought, well, you know, if I'm going to move out here, great, but I don't want to just walk around with this, you know, smiling ear to ear, doing all this fun stuff. I want to work. I'm tired of not working. It's driving me crazy. And he's thinking, should I get a job as a manager at a grocery store? He's like, hell no. Should I get a job at a drugstore, convenience, or you know, something like what CVS and Walgreens was, where it would, you know, there'd be some prescription pharmacy services, over the counter drugs and goods to buy, and some groceries and whatnot. He's like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. That's just going to irritate the hell out of me. It's going to drive me up the wall. And I do not think this place is open anymore, because I did a Google search on this a few days ago when I was trying to establish some mailing labels to send out some really nice YouTube channel postcards that I was going to create on my own. And let's just say, okay, I don't think this place is open, but back in 2018 there was a good possibility it was. And it would be called the NBC Commissary. It would be a place where there would be, it's kind of like a cafe environment, and they would serve some really good coffee. I don't think that's open anymore. I think they shut it down sometime after the shutdown that occurred after they, during the COVID virus. Then when things really started to open up again, they didn't open up again. They were just like, it's not worth it. We weren't making that much of a profit. Forget it. So what he does is he really charms the boots on some of his people, so to speak. The ones that would be hiring for the NBC commissary. And he convinces them to work there. So what he does next, after he's got a place set up that I've looked at so many different apartments in that area. I know a lot about everything. It would be something like off Hollywood or off the Vine Hollywood area. And there's not a vacancy for 2 months. So what he does is, when his agreement that he has with the person that owns that apartment, the deal that he made with him, that he moves in on one day, and then 30 days later to the day he moves out of there, and he gets back to his house in Oolitic. He goes back to Oolitic. He starts to talk to a real estate consultant, a realtor, who would be a good consultant for him. And they go through every nook and cranny of that house. And the things that he said was, he says the bushes that are right in front of the house, cut them down. And he said, the flower bed, put more of these types of flowers in there to make it look more enhanced, more attractive to the buyer. And he said, paint the garage door this color instead of what it is now. It looks good now, but a lot of people are wanting this color. Paint it that color. And he does it himself. He puts in a brand spanking new garbage disposal in the kitchen. He puts in the plumbing for the kitchen sink in there too. And he puts some more advanced deadbolt locks in the front door. He repaints the whole interior of the house, the whole thing, white, instead of that peach color, that light peach color. And there's a couple of paintings. He takes them down. And he puts up some smaller decor stuff. And the other thing that he does, because even though the toilets work just fine, he replaces, because he has, it's a 2-bathroom house. He replaces both the toilets, both of them. And he also I'm trying to think here for a second. Hold on. Oh yeah. He gets a brand spanking new GE. It's got that nice stainless steel look refrigerator. Because the refrigerator he got, it works great, but it's 10 years old. It's time for it to go. Because that one little thing could be a turnoff to the buyer. Well, they don't want anything to do with the house. Yeah. And the washer and the dryer had been replaced a couple of years before that, and man, oh man, were they advanced. So after he gets all that done, he knows it's a win-win situation. He's going to sell this house quick. And he makes sure to discipline himself to get up every day at a certain time so that he's ready to go. And he's got the kitchen clean as a whistle. And when they tell him that so-and-so's coming over, they get out. He gets out. He leaves within less than 5 minutes. Or no, within less than 10 minutes, excuse me. And there's a few things of clothing that he has not worn in at least 5 years. He takes 3 dress shirts, 2 t-shirts, 1 candy ass looking rugby shirt, and 1 pair I'm sorry, the images in my mind and of these items in my mind kind of make me laugh. The 1 pair of white dress shoes that are leather. He takes all that stuff along with a couple of stupid ass plates that he's tired of looking at to a local thrift store, and he donates it. And he's like, great, it's all over. And then he starts researching on the internet for a lot of different things that are in the area and in Los Angeles, so that he gets really, really familiarized with what goes on. He looks at quite a few YouTube clips about stuff. Sorry, I got tangled tongued. And after there is only 9 different people looking at the house, 9, within about a 15 to 16 day period. I want to say viewer, but I'll put it this way: prospective buyer and visitor number 9 wants that house real bad. Now, what Jones paid for the house originally, way back in about 2005, 2006, was, and this is the best guess I could make, it could be worth more than that, it could be worth less than that, or it could be close. $61,000. With all the things that he did in 2018, he puts that house on the market for $97,500. And buyer number 9 not only is willing to pay it, but he's not going to do no 15-year or 30-year mortgage. He's going to pay in full in cash, because that guy is, well, he's not got hundreds of millions of dollars, but he's well-to-do enough that he's got at least $400,000 or $500,000 to his name. Oh yeah. And then what happens is a thing goes through Jones's conscience, and he says to his realtor, he says, I don't want it on my conscience. But he would say no. So what about we ask $96,400 that I'm willing to come down in the price, because I want to do that so that I feel good about it, and to there's even more of a guarantee that he's going to buy the house the way you say he's going to. And he says, well, if that's what you want to do, I'll tell him about it. And the buyer is jumping up and down with lots of joy. And what he does is, once the offer is made or once the counteroffer is made and the deal is accepted on both sides, you know, the realtor, the buyer who's got a realtor out there representing him, and the realtor of Jones, who would be on the seller's end, everything goes through. And he immediately puts a down payment, the buyer, that is, of $7,000, like that. And what goes on is Jones so he starts packing up the place, and he starts putting a few things up on eBay that he just doesn't want anymore. And he also starts thinking of plan A, plan B, plan C of what to do about moving there. Meaning, you know, one, should I buy some boxes and start packing this stuff up myself, and then have the moving company that I so desire to do it. Plan B, I get rid of some things that I want to. I do a combination of giving certain things away that I don't want to try to sell because I don't think it's going to sell. I'll give it to this person, that person, and the church that I like and respect. then sell them to this guy, that guy, or whoever it would be, and have a moving company do all the packing. Plan C, do all of the packing, and I pay somebody a more reasonable rate, of somebody who I know and trust, to load up one of those U-Haul vans, and I drive it down there myself. So he keeps thinking. And the other thing he does is he's talked to his realtor about this before he actually contacts the service company. He says, I'll pay to have a service inspection done to the sewage area, because I don't want that thing getting all backed up on. And he does, and and the sewage company says, boy, it's really a good thing that you contacted us, because there is a major route that we have to pull out. And he says, how much is this going to cost to pull it out? And he says, probably around $1,258. And he's got the money, he don't care. So what they do is they do the inspection, and it's one of those situations where if he's really got to go to the bathroom, he can go. But the water's shut off, and he's just gonna have to let it be there in the toilet and not flush it down, because if he presses the flush handle, nothing's gonna happen. And the water's shut off for a couple of hours. So the sewage company looks over everything, and they say, well, we got some good news, we got some bad news. The good news is it wasn't as bad as we originally thought. And the other good news is it's not going to cost you as much money. And he's like, all right, what's bad news? He says, the bad news is we're going to have to keep the water off just a little bit longer, because we have to have a special sewage vacuuming truck come in and suck all the waste out before we cut the route and restructure the wall. And we're talking about a sewer wall. So he has to do all that, and then at about, I'm guessing a little after 6 o'clock at night, he gets a knock on the door again. And he says, well, sir, if we can come in and turn on the water, we'll go ahead and do it. And like we promised, it's not going to be $1,258. It's only going to be $1,118 and change. And he says, great. So Jones writes out the check. And then he continues to pack, and he goes to the church that it's a Protestant church that he strongly believes in, that preaches the true word of God. And he thought to himself, well, if I do the type of moving where I drive the U-Haul truck myself, it's going to be too much for me to bear, and it's really going to wear me out. So what he decides to do is a combination of A and B, meaning he's going to pack everything up, and he's going to allow the moving company only to load it up into the moving truck, and they drive it out there. Yeah. And usually that would cost at least $5,000 to $6,000. He's in on a break because it's a moving company that is quite hard up for business. $3,744 and change. That's cheap. We're going from Oolitic, Indiana, all the way out to Television City, Los Angeles, California. And he takes this is about 5 days before he moves. He takes a flight out to LAX, and he goes to this apartment building. I haven't done research on that area, but, well, let's call it something like Lilac Street or Lilac Way. You know, after the flower, lilac. He goes, he flies out there, he signs the leasing agreement, and he writes them out a check because he wants what I have here in this apartment right as we speak. He wants to adopt a kitty cat. He writes out a check for, okay, I had to get out the calculator. The rent would be somewhere between $1,935 and $1,938 and change, plus a security deposit, plus a pet deposit, plus an administrative fee, plus a deposit for the keys and a laundry card. It would be $4,414.88. Yeah. You can spend even more than that out there. We're talking over $10,000. I'm not kidding. It's true. And then after he's done, he gets the keys for the apartment and the mailbox key and the laundry room key and the whole 9 yards. And I think there'd be a fitness room clubhouse key too. Okay. He gets back to his hotel and he orders a nice prime rib with steamed vegetables dinner. And he gets to eat some nice, I think they would call this, it's a pie. Instead of a hot pie, it's like a cold pie. I think they call it something like chocolate mousse. And he drinks a $6 cup of premium graded cafe latte that is the best cup of coffee he's ever had in his life. I mean, he's just like, oh man, wow. And then he does it again. He's like, oh man, that makes my throat feel good. And he goes, again. And he's like, whew, this is the best. And then he does it again. And he calls, he presses the 2 digits or the 1 digit thing through the landline phone. And he has the room service bring another one to him. And I tell you, that's a lot of caffeine. And after 2 a.m., he's just, I mean, he takes off his sneakers and he starts jogging like this to get himself get the caffeine high off. I mean, he's just like, here. I mean, he's going like this. Okay, I finally got it reestablished. And the morning that he leaves, after about a little more than 6 hours of sleep, and him having a good but quick breakfast in what would probably be called the breakfast buffet, or he has it just simply catered, well, the type of breakfast he likes delivered to his room. It would probably cost over $14, I bet you. He has a he leaves he checks out at the hotel, pays the bill, and he gets his flight back from LAX to the airport that would be near Oolitic, which I don't know. I'm sure there's one, but I don't know which one it is. It might be Indianapolis airport. And then he starts doing some more unpacking, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a lot of little details. And he and the morning that is the big day, moving day, he wakes up at 7:30 on the dot. In fact, come to think of it, he probably woke up at about 7:10, and then he goes back to sleep for about 2 minutes, and he hears this down, 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 and the alarm clock. He gets up, he showers and shaves, and he gets into some working clothes, so he can help with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's not going to be some snooty guy who's just like, why don't you hardworking men do all of the work? I do a lot more work with my mind and with all the financial obligations that I have to look after than you could ever imagine. No, he doesn't have that type of attitude. He's good and down to earth. He's the average common man. And he just sits in there and he helps with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then when all the moving's a little more than 2/3 of the way done, the realtor comes over and they go over a few things. And then he leaves the house. I'm going to say at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, because a week or two later, It's going to be official. The new owners of the house are supposed to move in. Yep. And he gets a ride to the airport, wherever it is, and he takes the flight to LAX. And let me see here. The best guess I can make is he arrives at LAX somewhere between 2:45 and 3:50 p.m. 3:50 in the afternoon, 3:50 p.m. And excuse me a minute. And he gets his, I kid you not, and he pays probably $275 for this stuff, or even higher than that. 4 pieces of luggage. 4. It's 3 pieces of the regular telescopic luggage, and the 4th one is a fairly big duffel bag full of suits, bathroom towels, and a pillow or 2. We're talking about those small pillows, not those ones that are the size of a standard size pillow or a queen size pillow that would be on a bed. And he has his the car is not within his reach yet. It's in his possession, but it's not in his reach. Excuse me. What that means is it was on one of those small 2-wheel things where you I think it's connected to a winch, or like it's chained up to that thing so that the car can go along for the ride. I mean, it's a long ride. I mean, he wants it that way because he doesn't want to do all the driving. He really doesn't. And he gets I think what it would be like an SUV Uber ride or an SUV Lyft ride from LAX to that apartment, or to his new home in an apartment complex. And the distance between LAX and this area is a minimum of 12 miles. And, or at least that's what I would assume after thinking about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's less than 12 miles. Okay, so he gets to the apartment. He lets the leasing office know that he's officially going to start moving in, which is what he's supposed to do. They have him sign a couple of forms. Then he walks and he wheels in 2 different trips from the leasing office to his apartment. He wheels in all the stuff, and he starts unpacking his apartment, and he thinks, I better check my mailbox and make sure that the keys are right, because he's looking at his watch. He's like, I better find out now, because the leasing office is going to close in about 15 minutes. So he gets over to the I think what would be called the mailbox hub. There's different names for it. And sure enough, his key works just fine the way it's supposed to. There are 5 different letters for them, and one of them is, or no, 2 of them are from people who used to live there. So he just writes RTS and he makes a special marking on the letter so that he can send it back. And he starts doing some more unpacking. He orders some groceries through, I kid you not, Instacart. He orders milk, eggs, bacon, sausage, ground beef, salt, pepper, and about 9 different spices that you would buy in the spices section of a grocery store. Bars of soap, you know, like a 6-pack. Air freshener, toilet paper, paper towels, Windex or, you know, window cleaner, furniture polish, laundry detergent, spot remover for laundry, degreaser. I think they're those hard things of what would be called tidy bolt, or, you know, the one that would help keep the toilet clean. A brush for the toilet, a broom, a mop, and about at least 12 other things. One of them is a coffee maker, and it isn't a traditional 4-cup, 8-cup, 12-cup coffee maker. It's a K-cup, K-pod coffee maker, and it gets some really good Pete's dark roast, which is, that's good stuff, man. I've had it before. Yeah. And it's going to take a couple more days before the moving people show up. And he keeps his smartphone on, because the smartphone he's got ain't no iPhone. It's an Android. It's top of the line Samsung Galaxy. Yes. And he does some run around and he buys a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And he sleeps on the floor on a air mattress. No sleeping bag, air mattress. And the morning, or excuse me, the day that he that the moving company comes, it is 2 minutes. It's about 6-7 minutes after he wakes up, and he's starting to turn the shower water on, and he pleads with him. He says, wait. He says, I need to take a shower. He says, can you give me 10 extra minutes? And they kind of sound like, okay, but try to be quick. And he takes a quick shower, he brushes his teeth, he shaves, he pops some hypertension medications, and right as he's getting his pants on, he hears this on the front door. And as he's running to the door and he puts his shirt on, it's just a t-shirt, because he's got some sweatpants and t-shirt on, because he wants to be a worker, not some flashy guy that looks really like a slave to fashion. No. And it's the moving guys. And they start wheeling stuff in like you wouldn't believe. One of the things is his precious bed set. So, after the movers are there for a little more than an hour roughly, I mean, that's the best personal guess I could make. He starts unpacking things for at least a week. And then he calls the human resources people that would be hiring for NBC commissary. And he sets up a date to come in and be a new hire and get the orientation started. Yep. Well, I think that's about all I should say about this story, because I tell you, I've already done over almost 2 hours worth of talking, an hour and 38 minutes. And it's time for me to go. Thank you, everybody. Good night, and I hope you have a really good day. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed already. And please feel free to visit my Patreon page. Thank you. Goodbye.